I have a few things on my to-do list this year. First one in August, win the Republican primary. Second one in November, win the general election, put Cleaver into retirement. Third, march right down into Congress after being sworn in, call the Pentagon in and ask them just what the hell is going on. Article, just a little sloppy record keeping. The Pentagon's 35 trillion accounting black hole. This is this is just how do they continue to say they need more money? They're falling behind. We must rebuild everything. We're outdated. We have nothing, and then they can't even account for $35 trillion. You know, it was the day before that Donald run. Excuse me, the day before 9/11, that Donald Rumsfeld stood up and said, "Hey, Pentagon, we can't account for a few $1 trillion. What will we do?" 9/11 happens the next day. Boom, no one ever talks about this again. So let's hope that, the next few weeks are, calm. But okay, let's read the article. This is, you guys, your hair is going to fall out when you read this or hear this. Over the past 2 weeks of coronavirus headlines and heightened global anxiety, along with impeachment coverage, and after the Super Bowl weekend, Americans huddled in living rooms in blissful oblivion. A story in which, in more normal times, would be front and center has gone largely unnoticed. Did you know about this? To be sure, the Pentagon couldn't be happier that this bombshell has taken the back burner in global headlines. It says, the Pentagon made 35 trillion in accounting adjustments last year alone, a total that's larger than the entire US economy and underscores the Defense Department's continuing difficulty in balancing its books. The latest estimate is up from 30 trillion in 2018 and 29 trillion in 2017. The first year adjustments were tracked in a concerted way according to Pentagon figures and a lawmaker who's pursued the accounting morass. It sounds more appropriately news out of the Onion or Babylon Bee, given that is trillions and not just billions, though that itself would have been remarkable enough. Naturally, the first and only question we should start with is, how is this even possible? Great question. We don't have to go too deep or technical. How is this even possible? I come from a world of finance where finance, accounting are the norm. You cannot run a business without accounting. You can't do investments without accounting. How is the Pentagon, who is responsible for the U.S. military, how is their accounting so bad that year after year they keep saying, we're really not sure, but 29 trillion, we're just off 29 trillion, and then 30 trillion, and now 35 trillion. Here's an idea. How about we completely freeze 100% of funding to the Pentagon until they can get us an accurate accounting? How about this? How about we get the big four accounting firms in there? We'll pay them because it can't cost 35 trillion to pay the big four. Get them in there. Tell the Pentagon, open your books. Let all four of the big four, hell, let all four of the big four do their own audit of the Pentagon. Even if all four of the big four accounting firms did their own audit, it still couldn't cost as much as this. We'd still be saving money. This is just unbelievable. Actually, I say it's unbelievable. It's completely believable. It reminds me of the warning of President Eisenhower on his way out of his presidency. When presidents leave and their term is over, they will give a little going away speech. I forget the exact term, but they'll give a speech going away, warning, not necessarily warning, but just saying, "Hey, this was the sum of my experience," or something along those lines. And in fact, I'm going to play it right here, but I'm going to read this last paragraph. After all, 35 trillion is about 1.5 times the size of the entire United States economy. Not to mention that the figure easily dwarfs the GDP of the entire combined nations of the European continent. Consider too that the current actual US budget for defense related funding is $738 billion. This is 35 times what their own budget is. Now, you're like, how does this even happen? How does this even happen? It says here, Within that 30 trillion is a lot of double, triple, and quadruple counting of the same money as it got moved between accounts. Todd Harrison, a Pentagon budget expert with the Center for Strategic and International Studies, told Bloomberg in a recent report. This is what they keep saying. They keep saying things like this, quote, combined errors, shorthand, and sloppy record keeping by DoD accountants. I don't know many accountants. Do you guys know accountants? Accountants are not like lazy bums who are hanging out in their pajamas and like eating tortino pizza rolls all day and just like watching reruns of SpongeBob. Accountants are very right-brained, analytical people. The stereotype's not that far off that some accountants are kind of, not great with their people skills. I know quite a lot of accountants who really are, but they are not the type who make many combined errors, shorthand mistakes, and sloppy record keeping. So these are the excuses you get this isn't a new article, a new story. Every time the story pops up, this is the same excuse you get. Well, we have double, triple, and quadruple accounting. This department moves money here and it moves money there, and they all jointly spent it on a pizza party. So really, how about you just get me a damn accounting record of what's going on, okay? This is taxpayer money, and when this is taxpayer money. And this going to the Pentagon, and the Pentagon is the War Department of the United States. That's guns, that's bombs, that's tanks, that's all of it. I want to know what we're doing, because I'll tell you, bombs are not a really great way of diplomacy. You drop a bomb on a country, it usually doesn't come with a giant swelling of the heart of the locals. They don't usually love the people that drop bombs on them. So I want to know, how is this even happening? But we all know. We all know exactly what's going on. It's just pure swamp corruption. That's what it is. You guys know it. I know it. Now I'm gonna play this for you. It's 2 minutes long. Now here's one thing I think is really, really cool about the internet living in today's day and time. Eisenhower, he was the president through the 40s, right? He got done. He gives this going away, his farewell address. That's what it's called. He gives his farewell address. It's put out there, and then really, given the times, you never see it again. You never see the address again, just because the technology now, with the internet and the amount of data storage, you can go and rewatch and re-listen to all these old debates. And how many times are we rewatching all these old debates and news clips from Obama and from George Bush and Bill Clinton? This warning right here, you've got to hear this. This is one of these things that was put out there, and then boom, almost never heard of. It was kept in archives, right? Check this out.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Today, President Dwight Eisenhower's famous warning during his farewell address in 1961 seems prophetic.
Okay, I don't know what this is. That actually does seem interesting, but I want to show you the actual thing. So it looks like this might be it. 1961, I was way off in the dates. My apologies.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. We now stand 10 years past the midpoint of a century that has witnessed 4 major wars among great nations. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry.
Now, hold on. What did he just say there? What he said there was up until World War I, World War II, the United States did not have a war industry. There were no companies making bombs or tanks or submarines.
American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
I'm going to go back and play one little bit he said right there.
Rise of misplaced power, the military-industrial complex.
Right.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The potential for the rise of misplaced power exists. Let me go back to this. Well, $35 trillion that can't be accounted for in our military-industrial complex. You think Eisenhower might have had known something? Did you ever see that video? Did you even know it existed? Not many people do. You can go back and you can see other people like JFK give some very insightful speeches like this. What's the answer? What's the answer here? I mean, it seems the obvious answer is just to start cutting the budget drastically. You know, why? This is very frustrating. It's very frustrating because where's the money going? Who's getting rich? Is this making our country safer or less safe? Where else could this money be used? You know, they say, even though I won't get into the topic at the moment, but they say $50 million would replace all of Flint, Michigan's poisoned pipes, and there's another 100 or so cities in the country who are coming up right up on the Flint, Michigan crisis and having their own issue. $50 million to replace the entire city's pipes, and we have $35 trillion that can't be accounted for in our war department. I know what I would do. What would you guys do? I want to hear. Please email me or text me. Comment on these videos. Let me know what you think about this. It's a real mess if you ask me. I've got my own opinions, but I think I've said enough for right now. So that and this is just not a happy topic. So my name is Ryan Derks. I'm running from Missouri's 5th Congressional District, and I approve this message.